Rain was falling hard on the cracked windshield of the diner. Outside, wrapped in a threadbare coat and hugging a threadbare life, sat Clara. 53, widowed, and homeless, she had lost everything 2 winters ago, her husband to cancer, her home to foreclosure, and her dignity somewhere between the shelter line and the soup kitchen. Yet every day, she came to the same corner, outside the same 24-hour diner in the small town of Maplebrook, hoping for something she couldn't name anymore. A hot coffee. A kind word. A miracle. Today was no different, except it was. Inside the diner, nestled in a red leather booth, were 2 girls. Identical. Maybe 7 years old. With tangled brown curls and as too big for their freckled faces, they sat across from a tall, rugged man nursing a black coffee. Their father, no doubt. Clara watched them through the foggy glass, unaware of the way her cold breath had etched ghostly trails across the window. She wasn't staring to be rude. Used thrown to the girls' laughter, the way their father smiled despite the obvious exhaustion in his posture. They had something she had lost. A family. Warmth. Home. She turned to go, another day survived, not lived. Ma'am. A small voice tugged at her attention. She froze. One of the twins stood by the door, barefoot, in her pink socks, holding a plastic bag with a half-eaten muffin inside. Clara blinked. Yes. The girl looked up at her, eyes wide with sincerity. You look cold. Clara's throat tightened. I'm okay, sweetie. No, you're not, said the second twin, who had suddenly appeared beside her like a shadow. She was holding a paper cup of coffee with 2 hands. My name is Lily, said the first. I'm Rose, said the second. Clara smiled despite the ache. Beautiful names. Lily looked back toward the diner. We saw you yesterday too. You always sit there. Daddy says sometimes people don't have homes. Is that you? Clara nodded slowly, hard in her throat. Rosa looked at Lily, then back at Clara. Do you want a home? Clara laughed softly, bitterly. More than anything. The twins looked at each other again, then, with the kind of innocent bravery only children possess, they said in perfect unison. You want a home, and we need a bride for our father. Clara blinked. What did you just say? Lily stepped forward. Daddy is sad. Is always tired. He tries really hard but we hear him cry when he thinks we're asleep. He says Mommy is in heaven. That she was his best friend. We want him to smile again. Rose added, we don't want just anybody. We want someone who knows sadness. Someone who knows what love is supposed to feel like. Clara stared at them, unable to find her voice. Was this a joke? A cruel trick? Inside the diner, the man stood up, clearly realizing his daughters had wandered off. He jogged out, his boots splashing in a puddle. I'm so sorry, he said, crouching down to his daughters. Girls, you can't run off like that. Daddy, we found her. Lily beamed. He looked up at Clara, and for the first time in years, she forgot the cold. He was handsome in a rugged, world-worn way, as kind but heavy. There was a pause. A silent exchange. I'm so sorry, he repeated, softer now. They talk to everyone. They're a little different. Clara offered a small smile. No harm done. Rosa looked up. Her name is Clara. He said softened at that. Clara. That's a beautiful name. She shrugged, shivering. Used to be. Before everything changed. The man extended his hand. I'm Jack. She hesitated before taking it. His hand was warm. Strong. Would you like to come inside? Used for coffee, he said quickly. It's on me. No strings. She looked at the girls. Their eyes begged her to say yes. Something broke in her. Or maybe something healed. Okay. Clara sat at their booth, hesitant and stiff. The girls chattered like birds, telling her everything. About their school, their cat, the cookies Jack always burned, and how he worked night shifts at the lumber mill but never missed bedtime stories. Jack listened, occasionally sipping his coffee, occasionally glancing at Clara when he thought she wouldn't notice. She noticed. She was used to glances, most were pitying, some suspicious. Jack's were respectful. That night, he drove her to the church shelter instead of leaving her outside. The next day, he found her again. The day after that, he brought extra food. Then warm clothes. Then books. Then trust. Weeks passed. Then months. It was subtle, like spring creeping up after a brutal winter. They began meeting every Friday. The girls called it Family Friday. At first it was Clara and the girls. Then Jack started joining. By Christmas, Clara had a key to their home, even if she didn't use it yet. Still, Clara couldn't shake the feeling she didn't belong. That she was a guest in someone else's life. Until one night in February, when the heater in the shelter broke and frost coated the floors. Jack showed up at midnight. "You're coming home with me," he said. She shook her head. "Jack, I can't." "I'm not asking," he said gently. "This is stupid. You freeze here while we have 3 bedrooms and a fireplace that only holds wood when you stack it." "I don't want to be a burden," she whispered. He looked her in the eyes. "You've never been." Living with them was both a blessing and a fear. Clara had been alone so long, the sound of laughter made her flinch. The girls were kind. Jack was patient. But still, she kept her bags packed, just in case. Then one day, she came home to find the twins in white dresses, flower crowns on their heads. "What's going on?" Clara asked. The girls giggled. "It's pretend wedding day," Lily said. "You're the bride," Rose added. Clara turned red. "Girls." Jack walked in from the hallway, holding something small in his hand. A gold ring. Clara's breath caught. "This isn't the pretend anymore," he said. She stared at him. "Jack. I'm not asking you because of pity. Or because you're living with us. I'm asking because I love you. The girls love you. You brought this house back to life." She looked down. "I have nothing to offer. No money. No hope. No family." Jack stepped closer. "You brought warmth. Joy. Grace. That's everything." And then, with the girls cheering, Clara said yes. They married in the backyard. Used the 4 of them and the cat. Clara wore a borrowed dress. Jack wore his best flannel shirt. The girls wrote vows on colored paper and cried when Clara promised to always burn cookies with Jack. Their home wasn't a mansion. But it was alive, with laughter, music, stories, and love. Clara found work at the library, helping other women who had once been like her. Jack kept working nights but came home to a wife who kept the fireplace warm. The girls grew up knowing that families are built from love, not blood. And Clara? She never packed her bag again. Because the day 2 little girls offered her a home, she found more than shelter. She found her heart again. Moral. Sometimes the people we're meant to save end up saving us. And sometimes the most broken souls are the ones who rebuild the most beautiful homes, brick by brick, heart by heart.